everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Zeros of Funded podcast. Today I'm joined by Kate, who is one of the co-founders at Gaia Learning, who are doing marvelous things in the edtech space at the moment. Kate, do you want to give us a quick intro to yourself and stuff, like just let everybody know who you are?
Sure. Yeah. Hello. So I'm Kate Longworth. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Gaia. We're an online tech and teaching platform for neurodivergent children. Big hot topic in my household with my daughter, as well as in the education and I think global industry at the moment. So yeah, that's what we do, working with schools and families. And but been a marketeer for forever. So Jack, when you said this is an opportunity, I thought, used to work in recruitment as marketing, then in marketing, then in tech and education. So surely this is a good opportunity.
Well, thank you for joining us. I know I do appreciate you coming on and stuff. But do you want to talk us through like kind of how, like, I suppose you got to where you are now then, because like you said, you were working in in recruitment as like in the marketing team and stuff, heading up that. So how do you go from that to kind of running your own company? Like how did you get to this?
So I've been a marketing consultant now for 15 years, and before that was head of marketing for what was started as a small recruitment business. After going from, everyone that works in recruitment knows it's often a work hard, play hard culture, I would say. And I'd be...
No comment.
Yeah, I know. It hasn't changed then. And having worked for large organisations for a bit when I left uni, I wanted to go and do something more impactful in like a smaller pond, as they say. So I went to be head of marketing for a recruitment business, did that for a couple of years. And then from there went into the apprenticeship space and employability space in marketing. And then when, I don't want to go and be head of marketing for a certain organisation. I had my daughter. And so from then on, set up a limited company overnight, went on LinkedIn, job in marketing consultant, and then built a business and an agency model from that. And then through that, built a mental health platform for the NHS in 2016, did a TEDx talk, and then created a national gin, as in the drink for adults, not fitness, gin club for years ago. So my thing is always about understanding the audience that you're talking to. The more you know about the customer, the easier it is to create products and services for them and align your messages to them, which is a huge thing in recruitment, right? You need to get candidates, you're trying to get clients on board, you need to be able to demonstrate empathy and understanding of what they're doing. So that's just always stayed with me as a marketeer. And then when my second daughter was born, from the moment she was born, I just knew something wasn't quite the same as my first. And then that's come out to be a neurodivergent, pathological demand and challenges. So as a marketing consultant and done lots of work with the NHS and large organisations and passion for small businesses and loads in recruitment actually for years, when I met my co-founder on LinkedIn, she was having challenges with her son who has ADHD.
Right.
And I knew that she had a vision of what she wanted to do in the education system and making it fit for her son. I was feeling the same thing about Poppy, my daughter, and I just thought there's something in this. And so did a rebrand with her 2 years ago, and then put our foot on the gas to turn it into Gaia Learning, which is now tech and teaching.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you've been busy to got quite a bit done. Honestly, I really like the idea of what you're doing and stuff. I think it's really important, especially with the way that everything's kind of going with tech at the moment, especially on the AI side of things. I think it's really good to kind of keep things moving along from an educational standpoint in that respect as well. You're working on an AI product as well, aren't you? Isn't that something that's coming?
Yeah, well, so there's lots of tech in the market, right? Both from an AI perspective, but also just ed tech broadly. There's loads of businesses globally trying to sell to schools, trying to service the needs of parents. The thing that what we're trying to do with a tool that we're calling Gaialytics, and Gaia, by the way, Gaia is kind of a global Earth systems theory, which is about how if you leave the world to itself without interruption, it self-regulates. So if we left some stuff alone, it would self-regulate. And we have that approach with education. Actually, if we give the power to the children, they will learn what they need to learn in order to thrive. It's our job to put the tools in their hands. So that's why it's Gaia, and it fits with the Gaia-lytics that we're building, is basically how you can see from the child's perspective, their abilities, their ambitions, their successes, their stories, from outside and inside the classroom. Whereas other tools are built for schools to help schools do their job more efficiently. There's loads of that, right? We know the school system is in crisis, and schools are working their asses off to try and make it better because they believe in the power of the kids. Actually, if we trust in the children and give them a sense of understanding of who they are, a place to record and express their achievements and their ambitions, then actually as they go through their academic life and now into their working life, we're reducing the dependency on academic grades, which is driven by the challenges of a child who is maybe neurodivergent or has life challenges, who isn't in the mainstream school as often, therefore isn't often getting the same equitable access to education as others. If we can give them a place where they can see their whole view of themselves, as well as the parents see that, and the educator or the teacher or the school system see that, we have such a greater ability to understand what they need educationally and the skills that they're learning, how they fit with the future jobs market, with their gaps in their skills that they need if they want to pursue a certain thing. My daughter Poppy, she can speak on a Facebook Live. She has a brand called Poppy's Planet Club. She can speak on live talking to hundreds of people about the planet and about what she believes in. But my God, she cannot wear school shoes, and she can't do maths in the classroom. But her academic abilities when she gets to 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18 or whatever cannot be reflected just on the fact that she's got a 1, 2, or 3 or an A or a B, and the fact she won't wear shoes. We need to have a much rounder understanding of who the child is, so that we can then give them equitable access to opportunities. And that's where I see is there's a challenge in the system at the moment, and that's what our software is going to do.
Nice. Well, it sounds really good. It sounds like there's definitely a need for it. Like, it's crying out. Like even kind of like outside of like because it's quite a niche audience initially that you've kind of got for that. But like outside of that as well, I think like there's been discussions for years about like the school system and how like exams work and things like that, where it's almost like I myself was useless at exams. Like I couldn't do them. Like it wasn't necessarily like a nerves thing or anything like that. I didn't take in information that way, and I couldn't articulate it in the way that they wanted me to. So I think like from like a use case point of view, like there's going to be like a huge need for that, like coming up in the future. Anyway, I think there should be.
It really is a sort of what the world needs thing that we're doing. Definitely. I know it sounds really sort of hyper and ideological and holistic, but actually if it's born from the needs of the children, and Kirsten and I talk a lot about, like, we hug our children, like we cry with the babies, call all our students like the babies that we support, but like they are the ones who understand are starting to understand themselves, and it's our job to listen and to help shape and to guide, not to simply give them a list of questions and then dictate the information that they need to know. And the system is slowly changing. You know, the education system built hundreds of years ago for a world that we live in now is not appropriate. But I want to change it from within it, because you can't bang your head against a brick wall too many times without getting it down. You've got to kind of grow with it. And the schools that we're working with and the parents of the children in those schools that we're working with want to see change because they feel the pain. We've just got to shout a bit louder about how painful it is, and then
definitely. So I guess like where's that product up to now then? Like, are you kind of at the point where it's ready to release, or are you still working on it? Like where's it kind of at?
Yeah, so I'll go backwards slightly. So I had a call with a national school and care group the other day. There's a thing called hospital schools where kids who are in hospital receive an education, and they asked me to buy it. They said, can we sign up? And I said, no, because we haven't built it yet. So we've got some code, we've built a version of, and we've kind of outlined and got the IP for what it is we want to build, but it's been built by a fantastic team in Vietnam. We want to bring it to the UK and get it built over here, which is why our conversation around tech and recruitment was so timely, because we're about to go on that journey of I need a product manager. I'm gonna need some tech experts. I want to have some AI. I want to have someone in house with an understanding of the landscape or the ability to keep pace with the landscape. And so, yeah, we're at the point now where we know what we want to build and we're on our investment journey looking to raise to build it, so I can give people jobs to do it. Basically, yeah. And we're in a growth curve, so we've got a few gaps that we need to fill, or we'll in the next quarter very clearly have those come front of my mind.
Well, that sounds promising, to be fair. Like, it's good that you've already got people like asking before you've even built it. If people are like, "Where is it? Can I have it yet?" That clearly shows that people will be keen for it once it's eventually finished. But yeah, like, I think there's a lot of people that kind of like when they're starting out that I've spoken to, especially, that kind of come up with this product, go and make it, and then they go, right, okay, now we'll take it to the market, now we'll see what's going on, and then it ends up that they have to completely redo the whole thing because it isn't actually what people are looking for. But yeah, like, so like in terms of like where the company's up to now, talk to me about like Baltic Ventures, because they've been a big part of kind of like where you're up to now, right?
Yeah, the past 6 months has been, and I don't use the word transformational lightly, it really has. The business has completely changed from when we started in 2019 as a tuition business, a small scale business serving the needs of Kirsten's son and a few kids like that, to now being an international online school, and have built this tech piece. Since I got closer to the business, so I'm now co-owner, since I got close to the business from January, February this year, we've put some more people in post, we've put our foot on the gas, and we now have several school partners. And Baltic Ventures came about because I used to work for Tech Nation, so I've been on the tech kind of ecosystem for a little while. And one of the ex program managers at Tech Nation said to me, look, I know what you're doing with Gaia Learning, you should look at this program. So we applied, and we were dead fortunate to get through to pitch stage, and then I pitched my life and my socks off, and then we were interviewed several times over. Yeah, so we got onto this accelerator program, which its purpose is to accelerate tech startups. So there's a beautiful plethora mix of businesses, from a global app for budgeting for women with finance. There's personalized nutrition and performance. There's virtual power plant. There's this really amazing mix of organizations who some have raised, some are revenue generating and haven't raised, some are a mix of both. So yeah, we started with them in September, and then we are about to go to Slush in Iceland, in Helsinki, sorry, which is a big global founder investor event for tech startups. And yeah, we're having opportunities all the time to practice pitching, talking to investors. I just got off the phone with one 2 hours ago. So
nice.
yeah,
Well,
it's interesting.
Sorry, go on. I didn't mean to.
They've been brilliant, and we're their first cohort. So they've got a 5-year program, but we're their first year. So if any of your listeners do run a tech startup, have a look at the Baltic Ventures team. They're based in Liverpool, but they do support businesses kind of just outside of the Northwest as well.
Oh, nice. Well, yeah, like I said, it sounds really good what they're doing. Like, so, like, how long will you actually be involved with them for? Like, how long does that last then? Like the accelerator program, like, what's?
Yeah, it lasts until the 11th of January, and then I think that's when the kind of program officially ends, and then there'll be some support afterwards. But yeah, it's actually our third accelerator program. We were part of IBM Global Hyper Accelerator program at the end of last year, which was good but different. Baltic is much more hands-on. It came with a bit of working capital, which was great, just a little bit. So that helped us with the build for the Gaia Learning. And then we've been part of a kind of NatWest growth fund thing. Kirsten was part of that 3 years ago.
Nice.
So yeah, there's loads of stuff out there that wants, and we're in the running for some other grants, and there's a lot going on.
It's a bit like there seems to be a lot more stuff like that springing up a bit, because like at the start of the year, like funding like dried up and everything kind of like that just like fell off the face of the earth completely for a little bit. And then throughout this year, like I kind of watched it like build back up again slowly, and that now things, especially like AI, like medical stuff, like they're all starting to get investment and stuff again now. So it seems like there's a lot more kind of like opportunity for actually raising and kind of getting companies off the ground and going and stuff at the moment. Like a lot of the teams that I've been speaking to have actually been based in the Northwest recently, which like up until like maybe like a couple of years ago, there hasn't really seemed to be too much going on, but there seems to be like a massive boom for it at the moment, which is really good.
Yeah, I would say as a Mancunian, what I would say, there's always been a lot going on, but it's not had the attention. You know, the investment that's been down south has started to work its way up. The kind of like the northern powerhouse angle, and women in tech in the north, and I was at an event for women in tech in Liverpool on Monday night. So there is a lot more attention, and Baltic Ventures has been, you know, kind of part of that more recently. And I know ex-Tech Nationers, ex-people from Tech Nation, have got involved and started things up. I think it's something called Turning Catalyst in Innovation with Liz Scott in the Northwest. So there's lots of things. And actually I was in Lancaster last week or a couple of weeks ago, and there's a lot more happening much further north as well, in the Preston, Lancs, Cumbria sort of area. So the local authorities are clearly putting some spends, and private businesses and investment VCs putting some spends behind raising the profile of tech startups. And everyone wants, you know, they're all interested in AI and SaaS, right? That's the thing. There's a bit of fintech, clean tech, a bit of ed and health tech, but what actually everybody wants to know is, what role does AI play in your business, machine learning, and and how, and also how are you linking that to tackling global challenges? Like we talk a lot about sustainable development goals, like how are you connecting those two things? That's where I think there's the magic. And yeah, there's a lot going on, constantly getting invited to things, which is great.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, like as a fellow Mancunian, I think it's amazing, like all the stuff that's going on. Like, do you reckon it's going to be like as big as like the tech scene is in London in a few years, like in the north, or do you reckon it'll kind of like plateau?
I think it's going to have a different vibe to it, I would say. And having not spent much time in London on kind of the tech scene as such, all I know from Baltic Ventures and from stuff I've been involved in the north is it's got an incredibly strong community feel. Everybody knows each other. You can't say the words Tech Nation or Baltic Ventures or Turning Capitalist or whatever, and someone will go, oh, I know, do you know this person, do you know that person? So I don't know what that's like down kind of further down south, but I think the energy that is being created and that we're seeing in the Northwest is not going to stop. It's not going to slow down. It needs the continual investment being put into it. And hopefully, you know, businesses like yours who want to be a part of it on a broader sense, from a recruitment or a services or, you know, service provision sort of thing, will benefit from it. So it does what it's supposed to. It turns into an ecosystem rather than a series of activities.
Hopefully, yeah, that's the ideal scenario, isn't it? But yeah, I think you're right. I think things are like slightly different in London. Like I've covered the London market for quite a while, and it seems like almost like there's a lot of gatekeeping goes on with stuff, like where people aren't really willing to kind of network as much and kind of have conversations where they're sharing information with each other, which I think is really strange to be honest, because it does nothing but benefit everybody for those discussions to happen. But yeah, no, I agree, to be fair. Like, I think like there's always been like a sense of I want to say like camaraderie, but it's not. But that kind of community aspect to stuff that goes on in Manchester, even outside of tech, like everything is kind of like interlinked. It's one of the reasons I love living here. But But yeah, so like you mentioned that a couple of times there about like women in tech events and stuff. Like as a woman that's running a tech company now, like obviously there's larger conversations to be had about like women in tech and kind of like what needs to happen in order to kind of equalize things, which like I suppose, how have you found it, like from like a woman's perspective, like actually running a company? Like do you kind of see those kind of issues like as being like as prevalent, and what can be done about them?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I'm part of a cohort at Baltic Ventures, and there are I don't know whether we're 50-50 split female led or maybe just slightly less. And we learn about the statistics, right? 95% of VC funding goes to male led startups, 5% female. And actually, then someone challenged me the other day and said it's actually 99-1, it's 99%. So I asked this of the investors at Baltic. I said, you know, how conscious are you of this? Because actually, it's something on a daily basis that I am not conscious of. I know our purpose, I know our numbers, I know why we're here and the ambition and all of those sorts of things. Probably better than most humans, whether they're male or female. And so that then breeds a confidence and a clarity that you need to have going into investor conversations. I think but the statistics still exist. So there's no doubt that we have to work harder. I think there is a difference in how the genders often network and are sort of going into a room with self-belief, and then how that translates into what you ask for. Women, I think, often ask for less money because they are often very good at managing money, and so we know how we're going to spend it rather than like do a bit of BS and like this is what I want and I'm going to figure it out, which I think is often a more masculine way of approaching investment. So we have that on our side, and so often what we get given is sort of a like coaching. What I don't need people to tell me that I'm great. What I need people to do is to give me £1.5 million. Like I don't want someone to go like, "You're such good for a woman running a business." I'm like, I don't know if you swear on this podcast, but like screw that. Like
doesn't matter to me.
like I'm not like fuck that. Just let's talk numbers and talk money. And I only have a limited experience of raising because we're just starting.
Yeah.
And sometimes I worry that the nature of what we do, born from our understanding of our children, comes across as like maternal in some way. And I'm constantly saying you need to, yes, hear the story and see the numbers. Like we're not a charity, we're for good profit making tech business.
Yeah.
But that's kind of unique to our business. But I do think there's something in how much you ask for, what you say you want versus what you kind of would like. So yeah, I'm aware of it, but I also have no shame because I am very confident in saying to I'll tell a quick story. I was on the train to Liverpool on Monday and I had what I didn't know is that they were counsellors. They were two men stood next to me. I was sat down, so they were stood next to me. And one counsellor, like a Labour counsellor, said, "We've got £700,000 in our grant money in our bank and I don't know how to spend it. It's a waste of time." And I kid you not, Jack, I put my hand up in front of his face and said, "I will spend £700,000." And I gave him a 7-minute pitch on what Gaia is, why we exist, and how I would spend £150,000 in over 3 months. And now I've got a meeting with the Minister of Cabinet for Education or something coming up.
Nice.
So I think but that's a confidence that is often a bit more of a masculine confidence in like, this is what I want and this is what I can do. And so, yeah, I guise it under, I've got no shame, we've got to go out and ask for it. But the more we can do in talking about female founders' success stories, and the more it will inspire, I've got 2 girls, right? Yeah. My girls to go, "I'll just make it myself. I'll just do it myself, mummy." And I'm like, "Yeah, you will, Queen."
Yeah, go get it.
Exactly. That's
yeah, I agree. That I think like I've had a few similar conversations in the past about it, and it always seems to boil down to like with investors and stuff. It's like people buy what they know, right? And that doesn't come down to like it's not even just the products. Like if you're in kind of like a niche area and something that traditionally doesn't get loads of funding, like if you start in like I don't know, like edtech is probably a good example, to be fair. Like there's never really been a huge amount of investment put into it. The kind of less inclined, especially when the market's downturn, to kind of say yes to it anyway. And also they're used to investing in men that are running these companies, because it's only recently that kind of like female like leaders have actually started coming into the scene and asking for this investment all the time. So if you're kind of like, if you're unconsciously biased and kind of actually used to investing in AI or SaaS and only kind of buying from men, essentially, like you are going to kind of go down that avenue, like without even thinking about it, which is something that needs addressing. But maybe will change over time with the amount of kind of like women in tech that are coming through now. But yeah, I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think I'm just reflecting slightly on the investment conversations that I'm having at the moment and who the lead person is that I'm speaking to.
Yeah.
And we're in, I would say, hot conversations with 5 organizations, 3 of which are probably the hottest. The contacts I'm speaking to is identifies as female. And I think with the nature of what we do and the sort of big purpose and emotional pull of the nature of dealing with children, actually still in the majority of situations, the female is the primary caregiver to the child. Yes, that's changing, but when we're talking about 10 years ago, when my first, or 11, 12 years ago, my first daughter was born, and 8, 9 years ago with the other one, it's still a female-led role in that caring capacity. So when I'm talking to different investors, I will talk at the numbers from a slightly different perspective, and I might spend a bit longer talking about the story and the empathy bit with one demographic as I would with another, and I might focus on Gaia-lytics and SaaS and tech more. And I think, just reflecting on what you're saying, and my dog is jumping all over my desk. Just reflecting on what you're saying, I think it's iterative, and every time I pitch and we talk about the tech, we are strengthening the numbers, strengthening the story, and that's where investment houses and accelerator programs are super useful, because you do not have a choice. You have to practice your pitch, understand the tech, understand the role people play, all of that sort of stuff, time and time again. So gives you the best shot when you're in the room.
Nice. Definitely. Well, like it's like that with most things. Like preparation is key for stuff like that. And like the more you practice it and the more that you kind of go out and do it, like the easier it kind of becomes. Like you said, like pitching to someone on the train and stuff like that. I don't think you'd have probably done that if it was the first pitch you've ever done, maybe. But yeah, no, it's a lot of things. Like with my job as well, it's exactly the same. Like I'm a lot more confident doing these podcasts now than I was like 6 months ago when I started doing them. I was a nervous wreck. But like it's kind of like growing with it, isn't it? But so let's talk long term then, because you, like, when we first spoke, you mentioned like the plan for Gaia Learning is world domination, which absolutely fine, perfect. How do we kind of get there now then? What's the plan?
Yeah, so we know that there's going to be a period of time where we're going to continue teaching, right? So investors aren't interested in teaching. They're not bothered about it. They just want to see the SaaS or the AI product at the end of it. So we're going to continue teaching, live teaching, small classes for these neurodivergent children with schools. So that's going to happen across the rest of the UK. And I think for the next 2 years, we are going to be building Gaia-lytics, beta testing it with the schools and the families that we work with, and then our next market will be in the US. So we'll look to test within the US. What are we now? End of 23. I would say in a year's time, we'll look to kind of solidify more what we have in the UK and start in the US. We're part of a program in the US.
Hello.
The dog.
Nice.
And so there'll be a US thing in the next 24 months. We have partnerships with international school groups, independent schools who work overseas, private families, some high net worth families in other countries who have children who are neurodivergent. And so we'll take the UK model, emulate it in the US, because it's very, very similar into what we can do, and the tech can apply to both markets, and then pulse that out across the rest of the world. There's no reason why Dialytics doesn't apply globally. We want to create a Gaia Girls Foundation in 25-26. We have all of the content for our Cambridge curriculum that we teach on an app. And so we with a accessibility tool, so it can be changed into any language to address neurodivergent thinking and visuals worldwide. And I want to give that away. I want to give that away to schools in various countries and to families in various locations to address inequality and access to education. So that's what I see as happening. And I think Gaia Learning is a vehicle for Dialytics. It's a vehicle for the Gaia Girls Foundation, and takes the essence of the challenges that I have with Poppy, even in a privileged state that I'm in this country, and the challenges that Kirsten has with Aidan, and plays it out globally for different economic standpoints, I guess.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you got it all mapped out anyway, and you know what you're doing. So sounds cool. All right, perfect. But I think we'll leave it there for you guys. I think we've covered some really cool topics and stuff. Well, thank you so much for that. I really enjoyed recording that. And yeah, like we'll be back with another episode, I'm soon, pretty sure. But